Welcome to Speak English with me.
Improve your vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation with our engaging lessons.
Welcome back to Speak English with me, the place where we slow English down and actually use it in real conversations. If you enjoy practicing with us, subscribe to the channel and stay with us each week, because the more English you hear, the more natural it starts to feel.
And don't just listen quietly while Sam and I do all the talking. Say the examples with us, answer our questions, and make a few mistakes. Honestly, mistakes are very welcome here.
They are especially welcome today because I have a sentence that sounds simple but can completely change who you are in the story. Imagine I say, "Emma, my older brother learned me how to drive."
Oh, Sam, no.
See, that reaction was so fast you didn't even let me finish my beautiful story.
Because your older brother did not learn you how to drive. He taught you how to drive.
But I learned.
Yes, you learned.
And my brother was there.
Yes.
And there was a car.
I hope there was a car.
So why are you making this so difficult?
I'm not. You are. You are standing on the wrong side of the action. You received the skill, so you learned. Your brother gave you knowledge and instructions, so he taught you.
Instructions? He was holding the door handle like he wanted to jump out of the car.
Wait, really?
I'm serious. I was 17, and my brother kept saying, "Sam, slow down. Sam, look ahead. Sam, please remember that the brake exists."
I already like your brother.
But here's the interesting thing. I can tell that story in two ways. I can say, "I learned to drive from my brother."
Good.
Or I can say, "My brother taught me to drive."
Same memory, same nervous brother, same poor car, but the camera moves. In the first sentence, the camera is on you. You received a new skill. You learned to drive. In the second sentence, the camera moves to your brother. He helped you develop the skill. He taught you.
I love that camera idea because grammar books sometimes make learn and teach sound like two separate things, but they often live inside the same situation.
Yes, and once you see that connection, the whole thing starts to feel less confusing.
So the first question is not, which verb do I remember from my grammar book? The better question is, who is getting the new knowledge or skill?
Yes, if I receive new knowledge or skill, I learn. I learn English. I learn to swim. If I help another person gain that skill, I teach. I teach English. I teach someone to swim.
So theoretically, I could teach you how to make coffee.
Sorry, you teach me how to make coffee?
I knew you were going to stop me there.
Sam, I have seen the coffee you make. That coffee could teach me one thing.
What's that?
Patience.
Wow, that was personal.
I'm joking, mostly.
Let me try a real example. My mother cooks very well. When I was younger, I watched her in the kitchen. She showed me how much oil to use, when to lower the heat, and how to know when food was ready. So, my mother taught me how to cook.
Yes, and from your perspective,
I learned how to cook from my mother.
good. Now listen carefully because this is where many English learners get confused. They understand the situation, but perhaps the verbs work differently in their first language. So they say, "My mother learned me to cook."
And people may still understand them.
They probably will, and that's important. If you've made this mistake, don't feel embarrassed. Communication is not destroyed. But if you want to sound clearer and more natural, say, "My mother taught me to cook."
Or, I learned to cook from my mother. Let's stay with that pair. Say both sentences out loud. My mother taught me to cook.
I learned to cook from my mother.
Now let's change the skill. My friend taught me to play tennis.
I learned to play tennis from my friend.
My manager taught me how to use the new system.
I learned how to use the new system from my manager.
Emma taught me how to apologize after insulting someone's coffee.
And Sam learned a valuable lesson today.
I'm learning. I'm still learning.
See, that's natural too. I'm learning means the process is happening now. You haven't finished. You're still growing into the skill.
I like that because learning often has a story behind it. Maybe you struggled, somebody helped you, and then one day something finally made sense.
I totally get that. I remember learning to ride a bike as a child. My father would hold the back of the bike, run beside me and say, "Look forward, Emma, stop looking at your feet." And I kept looking at my feet.
Why do we do that when we're nervous? Someone says, "Don't look down," and suddenly looking down becomes the only thing your brain wants to do.
I know. Then one afternoon, I realized my father wasn't holding the bike anymore. He had let go several seconds earlier. For half a second, I felt angry because I thought, "You tricked me." Then I felt this huge rush of excitement. I was doing it by myself.
So your father taught you to ride a bike.
And I learned to ride a bike from him. That's the relationship between these verbs. When you can see the people, the action, and the direction of the knowledge, the difference becomes much easier. And once that idea feels clear, you start noticing why some very common sentences sound strange, even when the speaker knows what they want to say.
And that's the frustrating part, isn't it? You can understand the difference when you're sitting calmly with a cup of tea, but then somebody asks you a question in English, you have 3 seconds to answer, and suddenly your mouth chooses the verb before your brain has checked it.
Oh, I know that feeling. You finish the sentence and a tiny voice in your head says, was that the right word? But the conversation has already moved on, so you smile and pretend you're completely confident.
I've done that in other languages. The face is very important.
The face says, "I meant every word."
While the brain says, "We need to discuss this later."
And one sentence we hear quite often is, "My teacher learned me English." Now don't panic if you've said that before. Let's look at what the teacher is doing. The teacher is giving explanations, correcting mistakes, showing new words, and helping the student improve.
So the teacher taught me English.
Yes, then we turn the camera toward the student.
I learned English from my teacher.
Good. Now here's another one. Can you learn me this program?
Ah, I can hear the problem now. The person is asking me to give them knowledge. They want me to show them how the program works. So they should say, "Can you teach me how to use this program?"
That's the most natural version. Imagine you're at work. A new colleague comes over with a laptop and says, "Sam, I've never used this software before. Can you teach me how to use it?"
Of course. And later they might say, "Nina taught me how to create a report," or "I learned how to create a report from Nina."
Right. Both sentences describe the same learning experience, but once again, your focus changes.
Let me make it harder. I watch English videos online every evening. Can I say, "I teach English on YouTube every evening"?
Only if you're the person making lessons and helping other people learn English.
So if I'm sitting on my sofa with headphones, watching lessons, I'm learning English on YouTube.
Yes, this mistake is interesting because the activity is connected to education, and learners sometimes grab the verb teach because there is a lesson involved. But ask yourself, what is my role here? Are you giving the lesson or are you helping something from it?
That role question is useful when the sentence gets messy. Let me give you a strange one. Yesterday, I taught a new word.
To whom?
Nobody. I was alone.
Then I'm worried about you.
Emma?
No, listen. If you say, "I taught a new word," I expect another person somewhere in the story. Maybe you taught your friend a new word. Maybe you taught your class a new word. Teach usually makes us wonder who received the teaching.
But I can say, yesterday I learned a new word.
Yes, and you don't need to name a teacher. Maybe you saw the word in a book. Maybe you heard it in a film. Maybe you noticed it in a conversation and searched for the meaning later.
That's a big difference. Learn can happen without a teacher standing there.
Absolutely. You can learn from a book, a mistake, or an experience. A teacher does not always need to be standing in front of you.
Now, I want to talk about the past forms because this is where a perfectly confident learner can suddenly slow down. Learn becomes learned or learnt, and teach becomes teached.
Sam,
I said it with confidence.
confidence cannot save teached. The past form of teach is taught. T-A-U-G-H-T. Taught.
Taught. My uncle taught me to fish.
Good.
Our coach taught us a new technique.
Good.
You taught me not to criticize your coffee.
You haven't learned that yet.
That was cold.
But useful. And for learn, you'll hear both learned and learnt. Learned is especially common in American English. Learnt is also standard, especially in British English. So you may hear, I learned a lot, or I learnt a lot.
Listeners don't need to become nervous when they hear both.
Not at all. Choose the form that fits the English you normally use, but understand both. The bigger danger is mixing the roles, not choosing learned instead of learnt.
Let's do a quick challenge, but I don't want easy sentences where the answer jumps out immediately.
Good. Make me think.
Your grandmother showed you how to sew when you were 12. Years later, you were talking about yourself. What do you say?
I learned to sew from my grandmother.
Now talk about your grandmother.
My grandmother taught me to sew.
Your friend can't make rice and you show him the whole process. You stand beside him in the kitchen, explain how much water he needs, and stop him just before he does something terrible.
I taught my friend how to make rice.
And your friend says,
Emma taught me how to make rice. Or, I learned how to make rice from Emma.
see, now the verbs are starting to feel less like vocabulary words and more like choices. You're choosing where to place yourself in the story.
And that's important because real conversation moves quickly. You usually don't have time to build a grammar chart in your head, find the subject, analyze the verb, and then give your answer.
Imagine doing that in a coffee shop. Someone asks, "Who showed you how to use that camera?" And you say, "Please wait, I am currently analyzing the direction of knowledge."
They would slowly move to another table.
Probably.
What you want is a feeling for the verbs. Someone gave me the skill, so they taught me. I gained the skill, so I learned. The more real examples you connect to that idea, the faster your brain begins to choose naturally.
And I want listeners to try that with a real memory because personal examples stay in your mind much longer than random textbook sentences. Who taught you a skill you still use today, and what did you learn from them?
Oh, that's a good one.
Try to answer with two connected sentences. For example, my cousin taught me how to take better photos. I learned a lot from her when we traveled together.
Or, my first manager taught me how to speak to customers. I learned to stay calm and listen carefully.
I like the second example because what you learn is sometimes bigger than the thing someone planned to teach you.
Yes, a manager might teach you how to speak to customers, but through that experience, you learn patience. A parent might teach you to cook, but you also learn to trust yourself. A friend might teach you a few words in another language, and you learn that you're not as afraid of speaking as you thought.
That's where these verbs start to feel more human.
They really do. So don't worry if your answer to our question is simple. Say it out loud. Feel the direction of the verbs while you're talking. And once that direction starts to feel natural, we can look at the smaller words that come after learn and teach. Because from, about, how to, and to can change the shape of your sentence in surprisingly useful ways.
And those little words are where I used to hesitate because I would know the verb I wanted, but then I'd think, do I learn about it, learn from it, learn to do it? Suddenly one simple sentence feels crowded.
I totally get that, but the good news is that each pattern gives us a slightly different picture. Let's take learn from. If I say, I learned a lot from my grandfather, I'm saying my grandfather influenced my knowledge, my thinking, or my skills.
He doesn't even need to be a formal teacher.
Not at all. Maybe he never prepared a lesson for you. Maybe you simply watched the way he treated people, listened to his stories, and carried some of his advice into your own life.
That's quite emotional, actually. You can learn from someone without them ever saying, "Today I'm going to teach you something."
Yes, and we also learn from mistakes. I once agreed to give a presentation without practicing because I thought, Emma, you know the topic, you'll be fine.
I can already hear danger approaching.
Oh, it arrived. I stood up, looked at everyone, and my mind became completely empty. I knew the information, but the words would not come out in the order I wanted. I rushed, skipped an important point, and sat down feeling awful.
I know that feeling. The worst part is remembering everything you wanted to say 5 minutes after it's over.
Yes, on the way home, I could have given the greatest presentation of my life, but I learned from that mistake. Now, if something matters to me, I practice it out loud.
So you learned from the mistake, and the mistake taught you something.
Very good. Now compare that with learn about. If I say I'm learning about photography, I'm gaining information about the subject. Maybe I'm reading about light, lenses, and composition.
But if I say I'm learning to take better photos, I'm developing the actual skill.
That's the difference. Learn about photography means study or discover information about the topic. Learn to take photos means develop the ability to do it.
What about learn how to? I could say I'm learning to edit videos, but I could also say I'm learning how to edit videos.
Both are natural. Learn to edit focuses strongly on developing the ability. Learn how to edit can place a little more attention on the method or process. In many everyday conversations, though, the meanings are very close, so learners don't need to freeze and worry about choosing the perfect one.
Okay, now teach. We can teach someone something. My aunt taught me chess.
Yes, person first, then the thing or skill. My aunt taught me chess. The coach taught us a new strategy. Emma taught Sam patience.
You are still trying to make that true.
I'm patient enough to keep trying.
And we can say teach someone to do something. My aunt taught me to play chess. My dad taught me to change a tire.
My friend taught me to use chopsticks properly. Notice that after taught me, we use to plus the verb, taught me to use, taught me to drive, taught me to listen.
Now here's one I like. Teach yourself. A few years ago, I tried to teach myself guitar.
Tried?
Why did you hear only that word?
Because it sounded important.
Fine. I taught myself a few basic chords. There was no teacher beside me. I used videos, practiced alone, stopped for 2 weeks, felt guilty, started again, and eventually I could play a couple of songs badly enough that my family recognized them.
That last part is a very honest measure of success.
So I taught myself guitar.
Or you could say, I learned guitar by myself. The first sentence presents you as your own teacher. The second sentence focuses on the fact that you learned without direct help from a teacher.
And self-taught comes from that idea too, right?
Yes, if someone says, I'm a self-taught designer, they mean they developed the skill mainly through their own study and practice rather than formal teaching.
I like how one real situation can now be described in several ways. I learned guitar, I learned to play guitar, I taught myself guitar, I'm self-taught.
And each sentence places the light slightly different. That's what more natural English often is. You stop searching for one sentence that is always correct, and you begin choosing the sentence that shows the part of the story you want people to see. Sometimes that's the skill, sometimes it's the person who helped you, and sometimes it's the experience that quietly changed you.
And sometimes the experience is not quiet at all. Sometimes life teaches you something by making the lesson impossible to ignore. I learned that the hard way when I missed an important train because I kept telling myself, I've got time.
Oh no, were you one of those people walking slowly through the station with a coffee?
Worse, I was still buying the coffee when my train left.
Sam!
I know. I reached the platform, saw the train moving away, and just stood there holding this very expensive cup of regret.
That is a perfect example of learn the hard way. It means you learn through an unpleasant experience or a mistake.
My friend had told me to arrive early. I ignored him, then I missed the train. I learned the hard way that 5 extra minutes can matter.
And you could say, missing that train taught me a lesson.
There's our perspective again. I learned a lesson. The experience taught me a lesson.
Right, and learn your lesson is another common expression. If you make a mistake and change your behavior because of it, someone may ask, did you learn your lesson?
I did. I now arrive so early that the station staff probably think I work there.
That's a strong reaction.
Life taught me to be prepared.
And I learned to be more prepared. Listen to those 2 sentences. Life taught me to be prepared sounds reflective and a little emotional. I learned to be more prepared focuses more directly on your change.
What about teach someone a lesson? That sounds different.
It can. If someone says, I'll teach him a lesson, the phrase may sound angry or threatening. The speaker wants to punish someone or make sure they do not repeat an action, so be careful with that one.
Good warning. Let's test everything with a few real situations. You tried to fix your phone without saving your photos and you lost them. Learn or teach?
I learned the hard way that I should back up my photos, or losing my photos taught me to be more careful.
Nice. A colleague spends an hour showing you how to speak confidently during a presentation.
My colleague taught me how to present with more confidence.
You read several articles about sleep, but you haven't changed your habits yet.
I'm learning about sleep. I wouldn't say I'm learning to sleep. That sounds as if I've forgotten how.
Fair point. Your grandfather never gave you formal lessons, but watching him helped you become more patient.
I learned patience from my grandfather, or my grandfather taught me a lot about patience.
Now, listeners, finish these in your own way. I learned blank from blank.
Someone taught me to blank.
I learned the hard way that blank.
Life has taught me blank. Pause if you need to. Your answers don't need to sound impressive. They need to be yours.
Before we go, let's take a quick word tour. First, perspective.
Perspective is the way you see or think about something. With learn and teach, changing perspective can change the verb you choose.
Skill.
A skill is an ability you develop through learning or practice, like cooking, driving, writing, or speaking English.
Self-taught.
A self-taught person learns mainly through their own study and practice, without a formal teacher.
Figure out.
To figure something out means to understand it or find a solution. You might say, I finally figured out how this app works.
Experience.
Experience is knowledge or understanding you gain by doing things and living through situations.
The hard way.
If you learn something the hard way, you learn because something difficult or unpleasant happens to you.
Lesson.
Lesson can be something a teacher gives you, but it can also be an important thing you learn from life or a mistake.
And receive.
Receive means to get something. When we explained learn earlier, we talked about receiving knowledge or a skill.
So after this whole conversation, maybe the simplest reminder is still the strongest. You learn something when you gain the knowledge or skill.
And someone teaches when they help another person gain it. But now you can go further. You can learn from people, learn about a subject, learn to do something, teach yourself, learn the hard way, and talk about the lessons life has taught you.
Which means 2 small verbs can carry a lot of stories.
They really can, and I hope you'll notice them the next time you watch a film, listen to a conversation, or tell someone about a skill you have. If this episode helped you, subscribe to Speak English with Me and keep practicing with us. More importantly, use one sentence from today's conversation in your own life, because English becomes yours when you stop only studying it and start living with it. Thanks for spending this time with us, and we'll talk to you again very soon.